Oh.
And we are live.
Hey, Meryl.
Happy Monday night.
Your brother Mitchell, he says to shape up or ship out. That's what he said. I said you could stay.
Yeah, that's funny.
Okay, so I don't even know if he sees us yet, but how would he know that it started? You know what I mean? He probably missed that.
I probably should write that in there, and we begin.
Okay, Eddie Heckman, if you want to come on too, you can. I'll put the link in the. If you want to come on to the show, you're more than welcome to join us, Eddie. Leonard just walked in the front door. I heard him downstairs. But welcome to Baseball Roundtable, Douglas. Right?
Yep. Eddie Heckman, if you go to the link that I gave you last week to join the show, you'll see choices, and this will be the only choice you can make. So you can come in. You're always welcome. Anyway, it's Baseball Monday.
Wait, what happened? You already shared the link with him?
Well, the link to StreamYard is always the same. And if you go to your old link, it'll give you choices of shows. The only show to choose is this show. So, he's got the link.
Hi, Taco. Nice to see you, Taco.
Taco says, what's up?
Yep. So here's some news. Alek Manoah fell down the stairs, and now he's hurt. So we don't know.
Who?
Alek Manoah. The rookie in.
Yeah, that's what old men like me do, is fall downstairs. These young bucks don't fall downstairs. Come on.
Yeah, they do.
I fell down a flight of stairs, and this is a true story. I used to do a lot of hiking, and I hiked half of the Appalachian Trail. And I got home, and I went and took a shower, and then I walked out of the shower and fell down some stairs. I walked 1,300 miles. Okay. I fell down a flight of stairs in my house after I did that.
Did you just say you walked 1,300 miles?
Yep. I used to be a real avid hiker. I have a whole hiking blog and stuff still up there.
So Alek Manoah fell down the stairs. Now he's on the injured list. That was just very recently that happened. Mike Trout is running now again. That Mitchell just told us before we came on here, but I'm seeing it now. He's running at 90%. That's wonderful for those Trout fans out there. And they say that Corey Seager is going to be activated on Wednesday.
Good.
Jarren Duran hit a home run, and Soto is on fire heading into the second half. So if anybody wants to address any of those, bring it on.
Well, the thing with Soto is I've never liked my guys on my fantasy team to be in a home run derby because I said it screws them up for the second half. But it actually seems to have helped Soto because his swing wasn't level, and he got the home run derby, and he's hammering it. He's just hammering it. He's got his level swing back. It's amazing because you wouldn't think the home run derby. I mean, don't they take batting practice every day? What am I missing?
He was just hitting a lot of ground balls. His launch angle was not really.
He said he wasn't swinging the bat level. He said that, and he said the home run derby helped him.
Well, you know what? Whatever works. That's
we
my fantasy world.
We don't care. He's going to hit 20 home runs the rest of the year.
Yeah.
20? That's it?
Well, 20 is a lot in 2 months, right? Well,
you're almost. They played almost 100 games, Andy.
So I still think 20 should be doable for a guy like Soto. He already have 35, in my opinion. I know I don't have him on any teams though. So
he's one of the studs. He should be up there with Tatis and Guerrero and company.
Yeah, he was at the beginning of the season. He was a top 5 pick consensus. Right. Some people were putting him ahead of Trout. Some people were putting him ahead of Betts. I had him as number 5, but that's still very, very high. I don't know who you put. Your
boy Gibson's gotten lit up for 2 runs tonight.
Gibson's not my boy. He's done some very nice things for me today, and I think that there is a weird thing about the double standard between Gibson and Gausman. It doesn't mean I'm actually.
What do you mean double standard? What does that mean? What happened there? I don't know.
Basically, Gibson and Gausman are doing it roughly the same thing, and everybody loves Gausman and says, "Hey, we've been waiting forever for this. He's a Cy Young candidate." And Gibson has been as good, a little fewer strikeouts, and everyone's like, "Yeah, that's a fluke."
We're all queer for strikeouts.
Yeah, that's what it is.
We love the strikeouts.
That's the double standard. It's like
Yeah.
we just assume Gaussman is something special, and we don't assume about Gibson. The truth is probably Gibson's not all that special, and Gaussman is less special than most people think. Likely, but it doesn't mean they're not. It doesn't mean they're not good players that are useful for your fantasy team this year.
Well, I was at the Nats game with the Padres yesterday. My wife, I had to keep the TV turned off in the morning before I left home because I knew if she heard about that shooting, she was going to tell me not to go.
Oh yeah, that's close to you, right?
A bunch of damn punks outside the stadium. I mean, this is these. I support the Second Amendment, but I don't support the Second Amendment. Does not include 15 and 14-year-olds running around carrying Glocks. I'm sorry.
That doesn't have anything to do with the Second Amendment, though. These guns that they're using are illegal.
We got 14-year-olds all over the cities running around with Glocks. Come on, man.
How about the fact that Chicago had the strictest gun laws in the country and the most shootings?
Well, it's because Gary, Indiana, which is across thing, is Indiana, where Indiana has almost no gun laws, and you can just bring them across. You take the Tri-City Tollway. You can get to downtown
that
Chicago.
Must be it. That it's not the illegal guns, right?
Literally, Gary is part of Chicagoland. It is.
You don't need more gun laws. You need parents to do their job. And
the people that are doing all the shootings.
And there's a problem in Chicago. And what they're doing. That's called being a parent. When I was a kid growing up.
Douglas, are all the shootings in Chicago, are those done with legal firearms?
Most of them are done with illegal firearms. Most of them are done. Because the real problem in Chicago is, and I know this from growing up there, is the drug trade. Most of the shootings are one side encroaching on the other. And the weird thing about gangs in Chicago, unlike gangs in other places, is that every gang in Chicago is literally like, you have to be like, if you're a Gaylord, you're white. If you're a Latin King, you're Hispanic. If you're boogie down, what are they called? Black Gangster Disciple Nation, you're black. So there's not only there is a race thing between these groups, but there's also a monetary thing about who gets the drug trade where. And so it's more in those places where one territory abuts another territory. They're very dangerous places, regardless of how the actual cost of living in that area is. Like, one of the most dangerous corners in all of Chicago is the corner. It's named after Martin Luther King, but it's really in the University of Chicago. It's at the north end of the University of Chicago campus, where Martin Luther King crosses 33rd Boulevard. And that's a place where there's $1 million houses around there, but it actually is at a point where where the Latin Kings and the Gaylords, argue over territory. So that corner gets a lot of violence. Also on the west side, in the places where there's all those Frick Lloyd Wright houses, where Chicago, like around Madison Avenue and Cicero, where it abuts, what's the name of that? River Park Forest. What the two suburbs are? Riverview, Park Forest, right at that edge. Very wealthy area, but a very dangerous spot, literally 6 blocks to its east, because that's the north-south boundary between Latin Kings and the Black Gangster Disciple Nation. And so, yeah, you have a lot of violence there, and it's mostly, I mean, don't get me wrong, you still have domestic shootings and stuff like that, but the bulk of it, the big numbers, come from those guys arguing over spaces, and you'll have both body counts within the grouping and collateral damage often.
Why don't they put these people in jail and leave them there?
Thank you.
It's hard. I mean, you gotta catch them.
They catch them all the time, but they just let them go.
I also have, this is the other thing I have. Like, I have 1 foot in that world, but my stepfather was a lieutenant in the police force until he retired, and he died a couple years later. And so I am very pro the police in that situation, but they often just can't find these people because it's one of those things that you see in movies all the time. It's like nobody within the problem, the members of the gangs, are going to testify against the other side because it brings so much retaliation, and nobody outside of those gangs is going to do it because there's no value in them doing it. If I were to see it, or you were to see a shooting and you could identify this guy as whoever he is, that's Pookie Wilson. You're not going to come forward and say that because it's just one drop in a big bucket.
They're going to come back and kill everybody in your family if you rat on them.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure, dude. For sure.
People don't cooperate, and I feel sorry. My heart goes out to the people living in these areas that live in. I mean, we're having 6-year-olds getting shot getting off the school bus in Richmond.
Don't you guys have some serious gun laws there too?
Well, the gun laws don't help. You couldn't be more right. I have no problem with the guns. The guns aren't the problem. The problem is the people.
I think that like I don't really have a problem with people having guns. I was talking before about being I've been an avid outdoorsman, and the truth is most of the great outdoors is preserved by gun people. They want to be able to hunt spots. I understand that.
I don't have a
problem. The part about it is this: is like I don't know if there should like I don't have a problem with there being a law saying like you can't take a gun to a baseball game or you can't take a gun to church. You know when you put people together, you know things can go poorly sometimes, and if you have a gun there, it could be irreversible.
I think it's best when somebody comes and tries to shoot up the place. Somebody's there to protect everybody.
That happens like so infrequently. I mean, more often than not, when somebody shoots, nobody
was inside the Nationals Park though. By the way, with a gun, nobody was in there.
I'm just saying, but they do. You hear these laws like you can bring your gun to church, you can bring your gun into a bar. Come on,
nobody's hurting. Do you ever hear of anybody like using their gun in church against other people? Like not.
Actually, church is pretty rare, but some of the other spots like the bars you do hear it.
Yeah, the bar is probably not a great place to
most
carry
of the
your
people
gun.
that go to church. I believe that probably they have good motives for going to church. So they're probably, even if they might not be the best people all the time, they're on their best behavior there.
Yeah. So
I wanted to get a beer on Half Street in Washington before the game. And everybody was so freaked. The damn bars were closed and the restaurants were closed Sunday morning. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Oh, so you went to the game the next day, Mitchell?
Yeah, I was there for the double. I was there yesterday for the finish of the game 1, and I stayed for 6 innings of game 2.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Would you if that happened and you were at the game, would you try to get under your seat? I mean, these people were trying to get under their seat. I would never be able to get under a baseball seat, dude. Never.
I'm a big guy. I think I can lay down there.
There's no seat to get under. I mean,
to get low to the ground is really what you're doing.
There is really no seat to get under because when you stand up, it folds up. It's not like it stays down.
But wouldn't you lay flat on the concrete surface where you put your feet to get as become as small a target as possible?
Here's the good news. It wasn't an attack on the team or the fans. It was a drive-by shooting.
There's like nothing there. There's no businesses around there.
No, there are no. It's a huge development. The Navy Yard is filled with condominiums and restaurants and bars. It's a boom town.
Oh, it must have grown since we've been there.
No, you wouldn't. It's just like the gas lamp quarter in San Diego. That area around Nationals Park is the gas lamp quarter now. It's absolutely terrific.
Oh, it's grown then.
Driving by in a car, taking shots at people, and I think it's part of the gang initiation that you have to shoot somebody.
There was a.
That's what I said.
There's a question in Facebook.
At random. You have to shoot somebody at random to show you got a big dick. Okay?
That's not good.
It's stupid.
Okay.
Wow, there's 4.
There's a question in the chat.
You know, the people that are really strong are the people who don't have to advertise that they're strong. Those are the people that are strong.
Is it this one? 12 teams mixed 2 catchers? My catchers are ruining my chances. Help.
Is that the silent majority, Mitchell? The silent majority. Okay, yes. The catchers are ruining this guy's chances in the Facebook.
I can believe that.
I actually don't believe it. It's like there's so many catchers out there in a 2-tester league that what you do is you can have a catcher like Mike Zunino who hits home runs who can ruin your batting average, but just get rid of those guys and play a guy that doesn't play that much but gives you the best catchers out there are going to – well, that's better. The 5th best catcher in baseball is going to hit you like 16 home runs.
Doug, I have deliberately put catchers on my team who don't play.
Yeah,
Mitch Barber is
your team so bad that I'd rather have the position with a bench warmer in it, not killing my batting average.
I have in many years played Jason Castro of many teams, right? And
Yeah.
he only hits lefties well, and he only plays versus lefties, right?
Where
So-
is he? I haven't heard from him.
He's with Houston right now.
Okay.
And he's doing the same thing. He's batting 210. But if you bat 210 and you only have 160 at bats for the year, that doesn't hurt you that much.
Yeah.
And he hits lefties so well that he still winds up with 14 or 15 home runs and 40-ish RBIs, which isn't that far off the pack at catcher. It's like there are certain catchers that kill you. Like Sal Perez kills you in OBP leagues because he plays so much and doesn't walk. So you have to hope that the other stuff is really good. But for the most part, your catcher stinks. Everybody else's catcher stinks. That's not why you're losing. That's basically what I'm trying to get to.
I'd like to know which catchers this guy has, and I want to know like what kind of league he's in, because maybe we could help him find somebody. But
like you were saying, Mitch Garver is going on a rehab assignment. He will be back shortly. He's not a bad guy.
He's probably a nice guy, but he's definitely could help your fantasy team, in my opinion.
I've been rotating catchers in my 2-catcher league where I've been picking up guys for $1 each week. And the truth is, like, I looked at the entirety of it over the All-Star break. And I mean, I've had dog meat catchers on my team. I mean, the time, Elias Diaz's and the Tom Murphys. I have 17 home runs, which has only been bettered by 4 teams out of the catcher spot. Because it's like, like this last week, Elias Diaz was playing at home, so I'm going after him. This week, I picked up a catcher that has no career hits.
Okay.
Give him a try.
Every time I post a message in the Facebook thing, it posts it like 5 times because it posts it from every group that we have. So stupid. Okay.
Absolutely. Can I ask you, in that group of questions you had at the beginning, it sort of rectified itself as we were sitting here because Brandon Crawford went to the IL. With a hamstring thing. But what I was saying is in that league, I had Corey Seager as my shortstop, and he's been out for quite a while. Now, the crazy thing about this is while he's been out, I've picked up not 1 but 2 shortstops who I'm very happy with. Brandon Crawford and Willie Adames, right? It's like, of those 3, what would you do? Maybe, because Seager, I think, is still, even though I have decent expectations from him, he's still a little unproven.
Seager, you got to put Seager in your lineup when he comes back. But you can wait a couple of weeks for him to get his swing back. Is he on a rehab?
I don't know. I thought that was one of the things you brought up at the beginning.
I was just going to say that, I was just reading news saying that Corey Seager could be activated on Wednesday.
Yeah, that shortly.
Right. I was
going to have to cut somebody, but I don't have to now because thankfully Brandon Crawford won the IL.
I just saw that Lewis Robert is starting his rehab.
Really? That's good news.
Yep.
Okay. Yu Darvish activated today too. Malpal, what do you think of that? Your best pitcher.
Well, I don't even think he missed a start over the All-Star break. So I think they were just setting him down because he had a little discomfort in his hip. So absent something they're not disclosing, I'd expect more of the same.
So Andy, tell me, how did I do this? How did I get Wilson Contreras and Salvador Perez as my 2 catchers in the second half league?
Probably because you didn't come to the draft when it was your turn.
I was sitting in the stands. I couldn't get it on my damn phone.
You should have. I did not know that. Well,
I don't even know who I got.
Douglas was pouting because he doesn't
I don't know who I got. I'm looking at the
right, Douglas. I know that you don't know who you got because you decided that you didn't want to show up because you were annoyed.
Empty. No, I had a place to be. I think it's like with a with a little thing. I popped in for Georgia show for about 32 minutes just to be supportive, but I had a place to be that evening.
Okay, but you didn't put enough people in the queue apparently.
What round? What round did they take?
Malpal, I don't know because I was trying to get on the thing. I went back into the concourse.
Mitchell?
And it kept taking me to the page, and all I could get is a roster, and there was no button to take me into the draft room. I emailed Fantrax. They never answered. Andy helped me. Andy sent me a link. That link you sent got me to the draft room, Andy. Until you sent me that link, all I could get was a roster. There was no button to get in the draft room.
So it is there, but I guess you probably just didn't see it on your phone.
What button was it?
Well, so when you're on your phone, the menu looks like 3 bars because it changes. So when you're on your phone in the league, then it's right across the top in the middle. It says draft room in green. But that's okay. I mean, I tried to respond to you as soon as
you did, and I appreciate it. I'm not complaining. Trust me.
And hey, you guys have any trouble with your team, then just go and drop your player and pick a new one up because you can do that.
I'm on the site and it says all my spots are empty.
It says what?
Go to Fantrax. I left them there. I'm not going to.
Okay. I didn't. I mean, how would I? How was? All right. I'll do that, but I didn't know that.
No, that's okay. I didn't tell you.
I looked at this a couple times
today. On catchers is kind of interesting though, going forward, like in draft philosophy, is I strongly believe that the difference between paying $20 for a JT Realmuto and spending $2 on say a guy like Collins for the White Sox, it's a better investment to go to get 2 guys that'll get you 15 homers and spend $3. I don't think I never draft pitchers or catchers. I never draft pitchers high for that reason, because I'll take the combination of Collins and Suzuki over a combination for $2 than I will Realmuto and Molina. That's going to cost me $35 because I don't think the production at the end of the day, that $30 difference.
And the $30 difference can get you from Corey Seager to Fernando Tatis in the other part of the game,
Right. Lenny told me, like, one of the first times I ever talked to Lenny 5, 6, 7 years ago, whatever it was. His philosophy was always, I'm going to get 2 catchers, and these aren't only leagues. I'm going to get 2 catchers for $2 or $3, and my goal is to get 15 homers out of those 2 catchers. So you're basically getting a good player with little at-bats. I always kind of go for these low at-bat guys, like Douglas said. If I get 15 homers and 50 RBIs out of that, you're ahead of the game.
Yeah, you're behind everyone else, but by so little, and you spend so little to get it. Yeah, I agree with you entirely, Melville.
And there's so many there's not that many good catchers. Let someone else go crazy spending that money on catchers, and you just take the best of what's left over. That fits the rest of your roster. Anyway.
Yeah, I just look at my roster because I wasn't there. I got all the injured players.
Yeah.
I like your hat. What a great hat for today, huh? Malpal's wearing his 2A hat.
I wear my statements on my head.
9, 10.
Then you don't have to use your voice as much, right?
Then I don't have to say anything.
Well, what's it say, Malpal? 2A?
That's garbage.
Well, what does that mean?
It's the Second Amendment.
Oh, okay. I support that.
I just noticed it. We were already talking about that earlier.
You can have all the weapons you want, Malcolm. Just don't shoot me, bud.
If you can find ammo for your weapons right now, because every person in the country is buying guns. Okay, let's move on. Hi, George. Very nice. Always so nice to see George. I don't know how he does it. He's a caddy. He's a golf caddy, in Jersey. And yesterday it was like the most humid day. I always think it's the most humid day ever because it always feels like the most humid day ever, but it probably wasn't. It was just really uncomfortable.
That's what we call a Tuesday in Florida.
Right. Well, it was like Florida yesterday, maybe even because, I don't know if it's worse here on the island, but either way, George goes out into that sun and he caddies for professional athletes and stuff. He's probably met all kinds of people. But anyway, he's in great shape for his age. He does need a cell phone, though, right, George? You need a phone.
Yeah, he does need a cell phone.
Yeah.
George doesn't have a cell phone?
No, the truth is he gave me his phone number like 3 years ago.
I don't know if he's lying.
I thought it was a cell phone. I was literally texting to him to his home number for years until I finally confronted him about it. And he was, I don't have a cell phone.
Leonard, I know you're home. You don't have to message me in every outlet. I see that you're home. I know you're home. I told you there's pizza on the stove. Jeez, he wants me to pay attention to him right now. So there you go. You guys pay attention to Leonard. He needs attention.
Can I bring up my topic?
I hope
Sure.
you do.
Go for it, please.
Can we please stop right now putting microphones on the players, talking to them while they're at bat? Come on.
While they're
It's
batting?
dangerous. It's distracting the players. It's all about the announcers. Just stop it.
Hold on a minute.
They did it in the All-Star game. They had the guys at second base talking while the batter's up at bat. They had Freddie Freeman's up at the plate, and they're asking, what pitch do you think is going to – stop it.
The famous
You're
one was
bastardizing the game. You're making it dangerous. You're distracting the players from doing their thing. They're not out there in the game to talk to you while they're up at bat or trying to catch a fly ball. It's disgusting. Stop it right now.
They had
Stop it.
Liam Hendricks mic'd the ninth inning, and he
he issued profanities. I'm glad he did. I wish he'd have said F you about 8 times.
Well, that's what pitchers do to themselves. They psych themselves up, and the fact that you heard his psych up process, I got this guy. I'm not, and in different words, you know what I mean. And we heard it all. It was kind of fun. I actually kind of liked it. It's like it's the All-Star game, which is
it's dangerous, Doug. It's dangerous because it's a distraction. It's no different than you talking on your cell phone while you're driving with your phone in your hand, going 70 miles an hour on the interstate. It's a distraction.
Well, I mean, I don't remember the batters, but I'm sure it happened. But I'm thinking about, like, they were talking to Chris Bryant in the outfield, and I thought that conversation was really good. You know, and the truth is, what do you do in left field? You might field 2 balls all game long.
It's inappropriate. I don't care if you field 1 ball all game long. You're out there to be playing ball, not to be entertaining the damn list of viewers on the TV.
It's the All-Star game, which admittedly is the best of all the All-Star games among every sport, but it's still kind of a joke in the middle of the season. That, you know, it's about having fun with it and seeing other people play, and no one cares. You know, they just changed the rules, you know, for Ohtani to let him bat and do the thing because it's just the All-Star game. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything, even when it meant something, when it dictated the home field advantage, which is even dumber. It's still, who cares? I mean, maybe if they did it in a regular season game, it might be a different story, but I thought it added something. And I do think that, like, you know, it's learning from the NFL has a lot of fans, and one of the things that the NFL does is they have this thing called NFL Films that they run on HBO, and one of the things that's great about that is they'll mic up great players, and you'll hear them in the middle of the thing, and that looks and feels great. I don't really have a problem with it. Maybe not the batter. I can get that because it is dangerous considering these pitchers cannot refrain from hitting batters. But everyone else, who really cares?
Andrea, I have a question on the second half league.
Mm-hmm.
Other than the fact I'm in 11th place, that's fine. I don't understand a statistic in here called GP, which I assume is games played, and Malpal has 11, and I have 5.
That's because only 5 of your players are playing right now, apparently.
Maybe you want to have some 9 o'clock games or something we haven't played yet.
When did we start metering the data? Today?
Yep, today.
Yeah.
So these is only figures that go up to the first hour and a half of baseball play in the season. So Malpal, what you're saying, he's got 11 people that are playing tonight, and I've got 5.
Well, actually, probably we're live playing already. That's what my guess is.
Do what?
Let me make sure that your team is in. Is your team active? You have all your players active?
I didn't know I had to activate them. They're in my roster.
Well, they should be active if you.
I mean, is there some button I need to push to activate them?
Just go to your team and make sure that they're all there, active.
But I was just on the roster. They're all there.
Okay, let me. So
What's
I got
the
to
most
put.
important question on that?
Huh?
What place am I in?
You're in second place. You got an 85. I'm 43.
I'm going to lap you here pretty soon.
Do what?
Oh crap!
I'm going to lap you here pretty soon.
Yeah. I was just curious. That's all. I was just curious.
Okay, let me get Brandon Crawford on first. Okay, let me get him on the IL first, and then I'll help you out. Let me look at your team.
All right.
Let's see. Is this the team? Mitchell, there you are. Let me look at you. You have 43 points, right? You're
Yep.
looking at that?
Yep.
It looks like you don't have a lot of games tonight. You do have one guy on the reserve that is playing today, and you have a bunch of players that aren't active today because they
Yeah, JD Davis, that's on me.
So now you have a couple people in your active pitching roster that are injured, so you might want to, fix that.
Yeah.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah, I can do that.
And you know how to change the days, the period from Monday.
Do you set your lineup daily or once a week?
Every day.
Every day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Every day.
All right, gotcha. Thank you.
You do have some problem childs on your roster, but
Well,
not
I had
too.
no problem childs and children, and like what I had when I got home last night. I had Willie Castro as my shortstop.
Yeah.
Yeah, I those injured players are my fault. I went in and picked up players last night. I didn't care if they were injured. Who I had were bums.
Right. Well, I understand. I mean, we just could not, for some reason, like one of the leagues was moving along pretty good. The other league was just like in round 5 at like 6:30 at night. And that means that we had been
drafting for what?
a whole day and a half.
Well, you couldn't do we really could not do a slow draft being that close to the field. If you wanted the teams drafted to be ready for Monday, you had to do a normal draft. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying a slow draft ain't going to get it.
I just don't see why people can't just come there and put players in their queue, and if they're not going to be there, then they put it on auto draft for a couple rounds.
Players in the queue, but like I said, I couldn't get in the draft room.
I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm just saying, like, because there's 24 people.
I put a lot of guys in my queue.
I had 12 people in the queue and it exhausted my queue, and that's when I ended up with Willie Castro and Keston Hyura and whatnot.
I probably put 150 people in my queue. I just went through it. I didn't have a lot of time. I came in for that little bit. I just literally went like. I took the list that they had and I said, I like that guy, and I just skipped a couple guys I didn't want.
Right.
But I basically put that queue in there.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
You know, I mean, my queue was so deep that it auto drafted me Brandon Marsh right off my queue. That's how deep it was.
Brandon Marsh. Let's talk about him. Brandon Marsh.
Yeah, well,
let's see what he's doing.
I'm surprised they brought him up ahead of Odell.
Why?
Well,
I don't know. I just thought Odell was the number one prospect.
Well, there's two things about that. One is that technically Odell has played enough games that he's no longer a prospect. That's the big reason. If he were still a prospect, he'd be number one. But Brandon Marsh had a really hot last like 9 or 10 games, which kind of pushed the trigger a little bit.
I don't see that because this guy, I mean, Brandon Marsh has not been doing well this year. I liked what I saw of him in the fall league, but seriously, has not been doing well. So far this year, in 110 plate appearances at AAA, he only has 3 home runs, 8 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases. That is not great at all, in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's better. I know that the last couple of weeks he's been hitting 400.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
2 out of the 3 home runs have happened in the last 14 days. So there's that. But this guy he's been striking out way too much in the minors, which means he's going to strike out way too much in the majors. I don't know what it is. I know that he can hit home runs and steal bases when he's doing well. He also loves to steal bases. Like when I saw him in Arizona, he was stealing every chance he could get. He was stealing, and he just looked way more confident and ready than Adele. I don't know if Adele's having trouble with he's got a problem with strikeout. He's never going to fix that, though. So if they're leaving him down there thinking that he's going to stop striking out so much, they're probably kidding themselves. Maybe it's his defense. I don't really know what the Angels are waiting for with him.
Well, he was injured. He went on the injured whatever minor thing at the very beginning of June. And so they looked at what he did since he got back, and he was hitting .417 with 3 home runs and whatever 3 home runs, 16 runs, 13 RBIs. He struck out 13 times versus 6 walks. Not great, but probably better than what he was doing. And right now, the Angels are a team that's been playing that literally like picked Adam Eaton off the scrap heap and has been playing Phil Gosselin in right field. It's not like there's a. You may as well give a guy a shot, you know. That's what I'm thinking. Though, I'd much rather have Jaron Duran than Marsh. There's a chance Marsh could be something. There's a chance. But that's it.
That's it. Okay.
No, I was wondering, what he was doing. We were all watching you, Mitch.
I'm reading.
But yeah, that's it. He that might be better. Let me see if I can get the advanced stats for the same thing. So
Brandon Marsh. I don't know if he's worth a pickup. I'm not a big fan of picking up.
But Duran.
He just hit a home run tonight. He is very impressive in the minors. Okay, he had 15 home runs and like a bunch of stolen bases. He's impressive.
Yeah, I kick myself for not spending $160 a fab to get him. I missed him.
You never know, Douglas.
A little bit. Well, the thing about it is who's coming up from here on out that you're going to spend a lot of fab on. The only name that comes to mind for me is Luis Severino.
How about Chris Sale? Why don't you take a chance
He's
on
on
Chris?
a team. He's on a
Is
team.
Severino throwing from the flat ground now?
No, but Severino's the kind of guy that theoretically could have 6 phenomenal starts to end the season, which might make a difference in the league. They're like, who are the difference makers that are left to come up? Most of the big guys, like Bobby Witt's yet to come up, but in every league I'm in, Bobby Witt's already owned by somebody.
Josiah Gray getting called up. Why don't you grab him?
Nah, I don't live under the misguided idea that every pitcher on the Dodgers is great.
Well, maybe you should. He definitely has a spot in the rotation.
Most of them aren't. Most of the. I mean, we've gone through the Dennis Santanas and all these other guys throughout the years, and it's like in the moment we think they're great. Then 2 years from now, you go, "What? Why was I thinking that about Jose De Leon?" It's just one of those.
I don't even know when Jose De Leon was on the Dodgers. Okay,
He was.
I don't remember that.
And he was a big
Dodger
freaking
prospect.
deal when he was on the Dodgers.
Well, Josiah Gray has a 2.87 ERA, a .66 WHIP, 22 strikeouts in 15 innings, and 2 walks so far at the minors.
Can I ask another question, Andy?
Bauer's done for the season. I'm almost positive of it. Yes, ask.
How did Vladdy Guerrero fall to me at number 8 yesterday? In what world do 7 people pass up on Vladimir Malpow? Were you ahead of me or behind?
I had Vlad Guerrero as my. Somebody bigger must have fell to me at number 1.
Well, one guy wasn't there, and he ended up getting Acuna. But the other people, and another
that's
person.
the other league. Okay.
There was a couple people that were not there. 2 of them. Okay, so there's 2 spots.
But
and
you
then,
would think he would have been auto drafted, but this was an old ADP from like the start of the season.
Yeah, the thing about that draft is it
If we call
saved the rankings from last year. So, like in my case, I zoned out on Guerrero. I think I took Soto in that league, but the rankings were from last year, so you had to really actually think a little bit. And by the time I figured that out, that we're playing. This is ranked based on last year's, not how they produced this year.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
they were ranked based on projections.
Yeah, it was based on projections for this year.
Yeah, they were based on projections.
I was a little confused there at the early. Actually, I think I took Soto.
There's other ways to rank the players, though. You can rank them by their stats this year. I would have helped you.
When I did my list, I ranked them by ADP.
You can do that too. They have a bunch of different ways, but you still had to dig in this league for players. Some of them were just not like here's what I did. I spent, after Lenny went to bed, he filled up his queue. I put the timers on like 2 minutes a piece, a pick, and then I had 2 drafts. I started putting people in the queue. Then I saw that Lenny had run out of players in the queue, so I put myself on auto for like 4 or 5 rounds, and I go downstairs and I'm like just scrolling through all the players, and I'm like trying to figure out which players. Well, I already know pretty much which players Lenny likes, and I just put them all into the queue. And then when he would run out of, and then I would come up here, do the same thing for myself, and run back downstairs. And it was a nightmare for me. And on top of that, I mean, I definitely am happy that it's over, and I look forward to playing in this league. If everybody does their part and actually participates, that would be great. But I can't say that they participated in the draft. A lot of people don't. I don't know everybody's reasoning for not being there, but most people were very disappointing because they sign up for this league and then they don't show up for 2 days.
I mean, all right. I feel like it's directed at me.
Not
in
at
my
all.
entire life,
No,
in my entire
Douglas,
life, I have participated in every draft I've ever been in, even
excuse
if I
me,
can't
I
make it.
am not talking to you, okay,
Okay.
at all. It is not you. I noticed that you weren't there. I knew you didn't like the setup. I knew that you had already said that you weren't going to be able to keep up with it. But at least you said something. At least you put people in the queue. I mean, the unfortunate thing is that every time somebody's time would run out, it didn't automatically go on auto pick. So if somebody their 2 hours goes up and then the next person goes and then it's that other person's turn again, it should automatically be skipping that person or drafting on auto until they come back to the room and take themselves off auto. But that was not the case. So like,
I've never played in a second half league before. There wasn't an option to start at the second week because we were behind.
we could have started on the second week. I just chose
That
not
would have
to.
been I just think that would have been, considering where we were at, that would have been a better idea.
I just wanted
to try to get
like,
a draft done. If you had said to me, "Hey, we're going to draft at 6:30 on Sunday night, on Friday or Thursday," when you told me about it, I would have told you one or two things. Either I can't make it, or I would have tried to move things around. The fact that I got that with such short notice was tough. So I assume that
I'm never going to be able to get everybody
I even said
together
it to
at
you.
one time.
I said to you, it's like I assumed that this was a slow draft, so I knew it would take a week on a good side. So I said, when I drafted Mike Trout in the first round, I said he'll be healthy by the time this league starts because he'll be back by not this week, but by next week, and it's no big deal.
First, I set the leagues up at ESPN, and ESPN would not do anything but a quick draft. The 2-minute limit, that was the most time you could take. And I was like, there's no possible way that we're going to get all these people, 24 people, together at the same time to do these drafts. So then that's when I set it up at Fantrax. And it was like, that's double the work, just setting it up at Fantrax and getting people to, I could barely get people to claim their teams. It was just, it's not anybody's fault. I'm not like trying to complain. It's just, it was put together quickly, and I probably should have made a couple different decisions along the way, like just started it at Fantrax to begin with, or just scheduled a quick draft and like let everybody know if you can make it, you can. If not, then figure it out or whatever. But
that's fine.
We have our teams.
I appreciate you doing it. I do.
And Malpal got stuck in both leagues. Okay, so thank you, Malpal, for doing that, and he's got other stuff going on too yesterday that he couldn't be there, and I felt horrible that, I don't know, I felt bad for Malpal, but I felt exhausted running up and down the stairs. Okay, and then mentally trying to find players to put in the queues all the time. It was so bad.
Oh, it was fun. In hindsight, it was fun. Figured it out.
We'll figure it out going forward.
Once in a while, need a challenge. Can we talk about players, maybe fat pickups we made?
Who?
Hear about?
Yes.
Can we hear about players we maybe picked
there,
up?
There was just one other thing. I saw that John Means is going to pitch on Tuesday, which that's kind of new news. But okay.
What's your issue? What's your issue, Malpal?
Oh, nothing. I was just curious about if there's new blood coming into the league that people might be interested in. I'll say I made 2 pickups this week. One in a dynasty league. I picked up Spencer Watkins. I don't know if he's any good, but he sure is throwing good. And for Baltimore. And in my AL only league where I'm fighting for first place, it's 12 teams. I picked up for $1. I picked up Louis Urias from the Orioles.
I picked him up too. You know what?
Oh, you did?
He's doing well, Malpal.
Yeah.
Yes, he's hitting really good.
I'm surprised he was available for $1.
He is doing well. He's under the radar. Nobody's talking about this guy. And Galvis is out. I think the reason people aren't getting him is because he'll lose his gig but Galvis is out for weeks.
Yeah, and he's hitting 5th in the lineup, which was kind of intriguing. So I know it's Baltimore, but
I picked a great minds think alike, sir. I picked him up yesterday too.
Who are you talking about?
You. I'm talking about you, Malpal.
There's a guy in Pittsburgh that's only 3% owned, Rodolfo Castro. He's been okay. He plays all over the place, but I think he's playing second and third base. Both he qualifies at, I think.
What do we think of is Jared Kelenic? Was he available in many leagues, or did anyone get pissed at him and dumped him entirely, or
I
hang
did.
around?
Like, why would anybody have him on their roster?
I was in a league where you're allowed to have one minor leaguer, right? And so I had in the preseason I picked up Jared Klenick as my one minor leaguer. He came up, was pretty bad. I put him back in that minor league spot, but literally the week before he came back up, I decided that I would cut him and pick up Jaron Duran and put him in that spot. So I did cut Klenick for Duran.
And did Kalenic get picked up, or is he?
Yeah, he got picked up in that spot. He got picked up for somebody to put into that one spot, and he has a lot. He has a lot of value as a minor leaguer. What?
What?
Oh,
price
it was.
did he go?
It was like if it was more than $3, it was like basically a $1 bid, but maybe like a little 2 or 3 for a buffer, just to make sure he got him. You know what I mean? It was one or two. It was $2 or $3 on 1,000.
Yeah, so the mighty have fallen. Remember all the hoopla about him about 2 months ago on the same show? I think people were talking $200-$300 to pick up Kalenic at the time.
And the one thing about it is that's a 4-keeper league, and because of the way that I drafted him, he gets to be kept next year in round 21, whereas I only get to keep Duran in round 10. So even with that, I made the change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the reason.
Yeah, I get it. I just care. It just shows how.
Well, I'm saying that he's a great keeper, and he only went for $3.
Yeah.
The guy, okay, Bobby Witt was promoted to AAA. He could be somebody that you might want to save your money to spend on. And then there's another guy too, a Kansas City Royal that nobody's talking about all season because Bobby Witt has been taking all of the love. MJ Melendez, he leads AA in home runs, so he's 22.
Is that the catcher?
He's a catcher. Mm-hmm.
That's the real problem. Unless he comes up as a DH, or Salvador Perez
first base or something. Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, maybe first base. They've been hurting there.
At the end of the season, Salvador Perez could be teaching this guy how to do things. Although I don't know how long Salvador Perez is going to be a Kansas City Royal, but like you have a situation in San Francisco with Buster Posey, and then who's playing catcher right now for Buster Posey?
Kurt Casale.
Well, we knew that going into the season, we knew that Posey was going to be finishing his contract with the Giants and maybe retiring. I don't know, but he'll be spending a lot of time showing the ropes to Casale this year. And we kind of expected that going into
we were hoping it would be Joey Bart, the prospect, but Casale's the guy who's been getting the reps.
Okay, so Joey Bart.
He just got sent down, I think, right?
Yeah,
Bart.
They called him up for literally one game, and they sent him down.
I'm blowing you kisses. Okay. All right. So Chadwick Trump, he's a catcher too. He was sent to the minors. But anyway, that guy Rodolfo I was just telling you about that nobody was listening to me anyway, that's probably good because he was demoted. So
I
we were listening to you, Andrea. We were listening. We were taking
no problem. Just nobody noticed.
It was nothing but cricket, so you're right when you said that. Nothing but crickets.
If we want to talk about fringy catchers, that was one of the guys I picked up. I picked up Cal Raleigh of the Seattle Mariners.
Well, Luis Torrens is on that team. What? I thought you picked him up.
I've had him throughout the season, but Torrens had a couple of good weeks, but he's been off on the hitting. But Raleigh is like your number 5 prospect in Seattle. He hit 29 home runs in 2019. He was hitting .322 with 9 home runs this year in AAA. Admittedly, his first couple games, he hasn't gotten a hit. He's 0 for 8 or something, but I was checking to see if he's still – there is the problem when you pick up somebody like this is that he may get sent down at a moment's notice,
Here's a catcher, a catcher that just came off the injured list that I've always been pretty big fan of. Here's why, though. Roberto Perez is who it is. He catches for Cleveland. He's such a good catcher. He's the best defensive catcher in baseball. That's what we know. And he will play every day because of that for the most part. When he's healthy, he'll play mostly every day. But he can hit home runs too, even though he might hurt your batting average quite a bit. Like Douglas said, I mean, the catch-22 with the catchers is, okay, you roster them, they hurt your batting average because if they play every day, they are going to affect your batting average. If they don't play every day, which is the case in most situations, catchers just don't play every day. They don't hurt your batting average as bad, but how useful are they if they're not playing every day? Do you get the guy's platoon partner, and then just put them both in? Now you're wasting a spot at catcher. The catcher
I
position.
mean, you basically said it. Like, I've never really gone for Perez. I admit that he is a hell of a baseball player, but on the fantasy side, what do you expect from him home runs for the year? Like maybe 12. You can
Well,
get
he's
that.
yeah.
Got 16 this year.
16.
Yeah.
So maybe it's in the 20s. So that's a little harder to get, but
No,
you
he has 6 so far, and I think he'll get 15 total. But
Oh,
he's been out for most of
who
the
we talking
season.
about?
Roberto
Roberto
Perez.
Perez, he's been out most of the
Oh,
season.
Roberto.
Okay.
No, I thought you meant Sal.
He just came back, and he's been in he's been in so far since he's been back from the injured list. He's been in 7 games, and he's hit 3 home runs in 7 games. And last year he was an absolute disaster. And the year before that, he hit 24 home runs. So he's capable of hitting for power, but he's also capable of doing nothing offensively anyway,
And that's what I understand the idea, but because the catchers generally don't give you much, I just try to avoid the ones with the really bad batting averages. And if I have to have a bad batting average, I don't want a lot of at bats.
They all do, though. Which ones do you have? Molina or Posey?
Guys that wouldn't like for instance, Tucker Barnard hits all right batting average wise. There are guys like that are still out there. Jacob Stallings isn't too bad batting average wise. They're in that 260 range. They're not great, but the
260, dude, that's like MVP kind of batting average for a catcher, right? 260.
But not much else besides the batting average. But Barnard's been good. Max Stassy's hitting almost 300.
But like you said, okay, so back to the question of how much are they going to affect your batting average overall if they're only, I mean, really, if it were me, I would rather target Mike Zunino than a catcher that doesn't hit home runs. I would rather target a guy like Mike Zunino. Let it mess with my batting average a little bit and just hope.
But Zunino is a guy that you wouldn't say about Robert Perez that he could hit 30 home runs. With Zunino, you say this guy has 30 in him. Will he do it? Who knows? But you want a lot of home runs if you're going to take the batting average hit. The same is true of rostering somebody like Adam Duvall. If Adam Duvall was a 22 home run guy, you wouldn't want him on your team. But because he's a 35 home run guy, you can live with his 220 batting average.
Braves should have kept him.
Yeah.
Ross Stripling got his ass kicked today. Yes, he did. He got his ass kicked. Toronto Blue Jays, let me see, 12-0. The Red Sox beat them 12-0.
Yeah.
They're only in the 4th inning?
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. What is going on? Is this game postponed right now, or what is going on with this? Because this game started a while ago.
Well, they did didn't they do the makeup at the beginning, and then this started after it?
Oh, I didn't know they had to make up.
Because it did. I thought
this
they did.
This is weird.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I thought they suspended yesterday's game because of the shooting.
No, that was a different teams though. Ross Stripling, okay, how many batters did Stripling face? Okay, 7 batters. He made it through 1 out. He gave up 4 hits, 6 earned runs, 2 walks, and 2 home runs allowed. One of them was to Teoscar's on the other team. Who hit a home run? Let's see. I'm just learning this.
Renfroe hit a grand slam off.
Hunter Renfroe. Yay. That makes me happy. That makes me so happy.
Kiki Hernandez homered, Rafael Devers homered, Danny Santana homered, Duran homered, and Renfroe hit a grand slam. In the first inning, it was only Duran, Renfroe, and Hernandez, but still pretty.
So, that is just something else that Stripling did that, and then they gave up 2 more home runs in that first inning. Well, the first inning was 8 runs. They scored 8 runs in the first inning. Okay. Poor Toronto. They're just getting their ass handed to them. Boston's like, yeah, right. You think you're going to come out ahead in the American League East? That's not happening, is what they're telling Toronto right now. But I don't believe that. I think Toronto will win.
Washington scored 8 runs in the first inning too, but that was Ross Detweiler.
Detweiler is pitching. Are we in 2012 right now, or what?
What team is Detweiler pitching for?
I have no idea.
Yeah, that's right. Miami Marlins.
Miami.
Wandy Peralta is pitching again too. That's about the same time period. Too.
Wiley Peralta, and he's actually pretty good. He actually recommended him this week because of his.
Wiley is different than Wandy.
Wiley's back.
Wiley is pitching well. I'd pick him up.
He's
Wiley
absolutely.
Corral threw a 7-inning shutout. I mean, this is like the third straight
Yeah, I mean,
effective performance he's had. What is he, 35 years old or something like
32.
that? Yeah.
But I don't know what. So, first of all, I haven't seen him in the majors for like 3 or 4 years. I don't even. I mean, maybe he was in the majors, but I haven't.
I think 2019 he was in the relieving corps of the Royals, I believe. That's where he was.
There's so many of those W. Peraltas around. There's like 3 of them.
Wandy, dude, they probably graduated high school together, these two, because they're about the same age. Wandy and
Conforto hit a home run.
Yeah.
Oh no, not again.
He's got 5 on the season. He's lighting it up.
Did he hit? He hit one yesterday and today. Did he hit one today?
Yep.
Holy shit!
They're tied 7-7 with Cincinnati.
I actually still have him on my labor team, so I'm happy about that. I am fine with that. He's on my labor team, but he's hit 2 home runs in the past 4 games, so that's, thank goodness. He couldn't get worse than he is. Okay, I mean, how much worse could it get for Conforto? I was warned about him going into the season. I remember, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, "I love your draft, except for Conforto," and there was a couple different people that really said they're not fans of Conforto, and I did know going into the season that Conforto had a huge batting average on balls in play, like unsustainable, over 400, and so I knew that it was a little bit like skewed, but Lenny's always been a fan of Conforto, and I'm blaming it on him now. That's right.
I think it's a great topic, though. Kind of leading in, we talk about this guy sucks in the first half. This guy is doing great. But I think the lesson on these guys is, we tend to overanalyze stuff and players, given like half season. I know we're beyond halfway, but we draft next year a lot based on the stats for 162 games. We don't draft based on the stats for 80 games or 90 games or wherever they are now. So this is a lesson, I think, on Luis Castillo and Conforto. Unless they're a complete disaster of injury or nothing, don't you have to stick with these guys based on where you draft? I mean, you put a lot of capital into Conforto. Dumping him 2 weeks ago when he's hitting 190 seems like a lot of people do that. They overreact, in my opinion.
Well,
because the equalizer and the equalizer in fantasy baseball that does a long time is regression and progression. These guys always end up, for the most part, back to what they normally produce. Within 10, 15, 20% of their production. I think that's interesting.
He waited till the end of June. That's patience in my book.
I didn't drop Conforto on any team.
Well, you were thinking
I'm just
about
saying in general. I'm just saying in general. I hear a lot of people talking about, I got to drop this guy. He sucks. And, whether it be.
Yeah, I
remember people talking about Freeman being a disaster 2 months into the season. He got a 23 home runs now, right where you'd expect him to be.
For sure. But where do you suppose, I mean, because like Douglas said, so the end of June, you think there is a point where you have to say, I'm not going to let this guy bring me down anymore. If you can't put him on your bench and you have to decide what to do about a player, such as like, okay, I feel like I am a huge culprit of overreacting. I dropped Lourdes Gurriel like pretty early, but I felt like he bats at the bottom.
Great.
What's his ceiling? That's what you think. Like, what is their ceiling going to be? Luis Castillo has too high.
He's got a good ceiling.
I ask myself a different question when I get to that point. People always there's this question about, do you ever hate dropped anybody and like just because he was bad you dropped him? I don't think I ever did, because to me, the answer to when do you drop a player is this, and it's always
when you find a better one.
If there's something better to do with that position, and so. When I dropped Lourdes Gurriel, I picked up somebody that actually filled that spot better than he did. So I have absolutely no regrets about that.
Who was it?
I think it was Brandon Crawford.
Okay, but the chances of that happening are slim to none.
Well, based on where it was, Crawford was already breaking out and stuff, and it was like, yeah, I think this is better than this. But I'm not 100% certain, but that's the whole thing. It's like, if there's somebody better, like you were talking about dropping Luis Castillo, It's like, even as much as I said I didn't like him, I wouldn't have dropped him because there wasn't better pitchers out there. But if someone said, I have a shot at picking up, let's say Shane Bieber or something, sure.
Well, let's say you have Bellinger or Yelich right now.
Yeah, those
let's
are
say
scary
you have
players.
one of those two, Malpal. What do you do you have any of those two on your teams?
I don't, but I purposely didn't draft Bellinger because of his. I thought it was a serious injury, and it kind of turned out that he did have a serious injury. So I always avoid these guys with potentially serious injuries and let someone else take them and hope they succeed. Yelich, I would have drafted him probably if I had an opportunity in the early second round, and I probably would have stuck with him because I invested a lot. And he's a guy, if he turned it around, could carry your team like he did for so many teams in 2019. I mean, he won a lot of leagues for people in 19. So that's the type of talent he is. Now,
it makes you wonder at some point, like, which is the outlier? Is it the outlier? Is the outlier for Conforto the year that he hit 320, or is this because if you look at there's enough years for Conforto to say like, okay, he's not a 320 hitter, but he could hit 280, and plus he's still getting better.
I remember talking to you about him specifically. Probably don't remember because you talked to a lot of different people, but I remember saying he is not a 300 hitter. He's a 260 type hitter with power.
Maybe,
that's what we should expect from him. So I think track record.
But what about the growth factor that they get better as they get older, and they're supposed to peak out at like age 27, 28. That's supposed to be like their most.
But when you look at eye ratios and how, hit contact rate, I think the growth usually occurs in the power department. I think the batting averages, you rarely see a guy, be hitting 250, jump up and be all of a sudden a 300 hitter in his, the rest of his career. That's just, I can't even think of anyone really.
Well, you got that Daniel Murphy, Justin Turner became 300 hitters later in their career.
All this time, this guy has the same.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
He has the same plate discipline. So you see, a lot of times you'll see a guy start out, he's striking out 30% of the time, and he can get better on that. But you're right. It's not going to be like from 250 to 300. It never happens. But with Conforto, it's like he increased on his home runs consistently. Every year he would increase his home runs. 2019, he hit over 30. And then you just have to say, well, this guy is growing into his power, and he's still striking out 23% of the time. Right now, he's got like his batting average all year has been like under 200, and he's only striking out 23% of the time. He's actually walking more than he ever has walked, and his contact rate is the same. So I don't get how, like, what's happening here? You know what I mean? Like, it's the batting average on balls in play where it was over 400. Now it's normal or a little lower than normal. That is influencing this season. So, yeah, I mean, with Conforto, I'm happy to see.
I would just say on that, though, that goes to my point, is regression, and what would the opposite, progression. These guys tend to end up where we expect them to end up. It's a long season. That's all I'm saying on that.
For sure, dude. That's true.
He might not hit 260 this year. He's in a hole, but he could hit 240. So the difference between 260 that I'd expect and 240 is not really the end of the world. As long as the power is disappointing. I can't remember. Was he injured at all?
Dude, he had a hamstring or oblique, or I think it was hamstring. But yes, he was injured. Not enough to stop hitting for home runs completely, though, dude. So, is there something about like the way that it affects you mentally when you go and you're playing fantasy baseball and you see every day you go to your team and you can either be excited about some part of your team, or you could just constantly see this person that's not doing anything, and eventually isn't there some benefit to getting this guy off your roster, at least so you could enjoy fantasy a little bit and have something to hope for?
I like the rationale. I don't think it's a winning program, but yeah, there's a rationale there.
I'm getting ready to drop Rendon for the big Nogowski in Pittsburgh.
How are you going to drop Rendon,
If
dude?
Rendon's
He's not
injured,
playing. He's not going to play all year long.
he's
gonna
on the
ride
injured reserve. So what's the harm?
He's
What's the
going
harm
to
in
ride
holding
the
him?
sick bay all year long. I can see the writing.
That would be a
his-
huge mistake. If I could understand it somewhat if they both were playing and Rendon wasn't playing well, but you have an injured reserve spot. Rendon's one of those guys that deserves that spot,
Yeah,
and he actually is
yeah.
a guy that closes well at the end of the years.
Okay.
My thought on that, Mitch, is we are 100 games into the season now. If guys going to be out of the lineup for the next 2
3 weeks.
months, I don't know.
2 months
then you
rest of the
clearly
season.
have a reason to get rid of him. But if it's 3 weeks, then you have to evaluate where you are in the standings, what you need. You have to look at your categories. Is there some way, even dumping him, that I can find someone to help me in whatever category you need help at? Because it's very precise.
But if you have an injured reserve spot, he's guaranteed to help you as any other injured player is. Help you as much as
If you
that
have
while
an
he's
IL
injured.
spot, sure. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And he's, even if you only get 2 weeks into the season, it's worth it.
Don't hate drop him if you have an IL, but you may want to strategically drop him if you can find a category that can.
And if you really
boost
don't
you,
like
you
him,
know.
I've dropped Tyon twice this year.
if you really don't like
Now he's
Rendon,
pitching great.
is that a league? Is that a
Yeah.
dynasty league where there's more than this year? Because
I have 7 reserve spots, Doug. I don't have separate IL.
do you carry people over for next year?
It is a keeper league, yes.
Well, I mean, that would be a thing that if you really don't like
Rendon's
Rendon,
$39. There's no way I'm keeping him.
can you trade him? No,
No, I
$39.
traded for him. I traded Kirilov for him.
Yeah, I was going to say because I think there's still something in Rendon. He just hasn't played this year.
I don't.
Rendon's a really good player. I mean, he's been banged up all year. He's a guy, he's hurt, but he's a guy just like Conforto, although he's better than Conforto. He's hitting 225. I'm pissed, but I have faith that he's going to turn it around because he's got a track record. He's still relatively young. So I would take the chance. That's a classic guy I would never drop now, except you're 100 games in now and you have to make a decision.
What I'm reading is he should be back in early August.
Who?
Yeah. So
Rendon.
No,
So say like August.
Tomorrow's the 20th of July.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, weeks sounds like to me the month of August.
I'm just reading an injury report from who wrote this. It's off of MLB.com. So
I just know that feeling when you drop someone and then someone else picks them up and the guy goes off. There's not a worse feeling, is there?
no, because
Right.
people forget that a big part of the reason why we play fantasy baseball isn't really for the money, but it's to brag over our friends that we know more than them. And so if you
Right.
drop a guy that someone else gets him, not only does that make you stupid, but it makes them smart. And that's the worst outcome.
Exactly. We all feel that way, or most of us are probably do.
I'm talking in generalities.
Yeah.
I think you're a bright mind, Mel Pal.
Wow.
I didn't mean
That's
you're
twice.
stupid.
One time Mitch and one time Douglas.
Yeah, but it's like that's the
Fool
thing.
some
Like
people every once in a while.
you want to be able to say, I know this better than them.
Right. I mean, you're not always going to be right. Sometimes you just have to go with what you. I mean, because I know in this group we all spend a ton of time evaluating and during the off season doing our own projections. I think you kind of have to live with them at this stage, and if your team sucks, then you fight next year.
Mind about
Something going on?
I'm having trouble hearing some people.
Me too.
I can hear everyone.
Okay. Douglas, where are you? I don't hear Douglas.
He's quiet.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
This mute button has no like information as to which way to go, and I screw that up sometimes. You ever do that thing with you have like a video camera and you just get screwed up and you record the things you didn't want to record and you turn it off the things you did? I've been doing that all night with this. I've been muting myself at the wrong times and then unmuting myself to cough.
Well, we
I
haven't
just-
noticed, so maybe you're talking to yourself most of the time.
I think that's it.
I just read that 3 teams are trying to trade for Starlin Marte.
I did think I don't want to go on about Jack Peterson, but I do think one of the interesting things about the Jack Peterson trade for the Braves is there's no doubt that the Braves actually said, "Hey, can we get Chris Bryant?" before they went to Peterson, right? They must have said that. Hey, can we get one of these other guys? I think it one of two things come out of that. One is either the Cubs are asking way too much, or the Braves don't have anything to give. One or the other. There's no way that they went, "Hey,
The Braves did not want to give up some of the young pitching. They could have easily.
Braves got a good system. I bet you the price was just like. I mean, we don't know, but
the thing about it is that we've been living with this idea that the Braves have all these good hot pitching prospects, and of these good hot pitching prospects, how many of those guys are you going to draft next year? Ian Anderson, 1.
Yeah.
Maybe the guy who's hurt right now, Soroka, 2. The bulk of those names, the Wrights and the Toussaints and the Mullers, and they really haven't been that great. Why not trade them for Chris freaking Bryant?
Yeah, because I think it's going to be interesting to see at the trade deadline, what these stars like Story, Bryant, could be Rizzo, Baez, whoever, how much they fetch, because a lot of times the expectations aren't met in these, July 31st trades. The one that always comes to mind is Manny Machado.
I mean, I would accept that for Bryant as a Cubs fan. That return was good enough for me. Just something.
What the Orioles get for Manny Machado? They got this kid Diaz, who's never made it. He's never made it.
Diaz, who's been pretty much a bust, and they got Dean Kremer.
Well, I mean, Diaz is like 24 years old. He hasn't really come up yet, but I think there's still.
He has not. He's been pedestrian.
He made a push during spring training this year, but it didn't really.
Point taken, but I just wonder. It'd be interesting to see. Is all I'm saying, because these are some pretty good players that are going to be available, and there's going to be. I mentioned in chat. I think it's going to be fascinating because I think 4 divisions are up for grabs, right? Still.
Yeah.
So there's going to be everything but the AL Central and the probably the AL East. So
and they changed that rule last year, but this will be the first full year they're doing that, where there are no waiver trades afterwards. Like, I don't know if these guys understand that
there are no waiver deals this year.
The July 31st is the end of the line for new players outside your own system.
It's a hard deadline, yeah. So it's I think it's going to be interesting to see. There's probably half dozen stars might be available. Marte and all the Cub guys, Story, sure, some of the Twins guys, Cruz, what they fetch, and it might be up this year because there's so many teams. You probably have like 12 teams in the market to buy, which is unusual.
Who's in the market to buy, you think? I mean, because most of the teams that are like Seattle is as far back as like a lot of other teams right now.
I think all 3 teams in the NL West are going to be trying to buy.
Yeah, those 3 teams are for sure. That's
I think you're Milwaukee and possibly St. Louis, although they're kind of different franchises with the stuff.
Well, I'm saying like why would you think that the Cardinals are buyers and the Cubs are sellers? I mean, they're in about the same boat.
I can go.
I can tell you why the Cubs.
Long time about
the Cubs are worse off because they have.
I'm sorry, Mitchell. Go ahead. I apologize.
The Cubs are worse off than the Cardinals because they're the New York Knickerbockers of baseball. New York Knickerbockers had a bunch of high-paid players that they couldn't get rid of because of the contracts. But the Cubs have got 3 players that are going to walk, and they're not prepared to pay them. So if you're not going to pay them, you got to get rid of them and get something.
If those guys all just walked, the difference between the Cardinals and the Cubs would be Goldschmidt and Arenado. The Cardinals have not had who was the last good player that the Cardinals actually developed on the hitting side? They had a couple. I'll give you Flaherty, but everyone else is an acquisition.
Oh, you just are jealous because they're better than your team.
No,
don't think-
there's
you
a
don't
bunch
think
of
quality-
net talents. Carlson, O'Neill, Bader.
Carlson hadn't done squat.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. They're met talents. You know?
Everybody said he's a top
Edmund-
prospect. He has done virtually nothing. He's
That's what I'm
nondescript. You don't hear his name. You don't even hear his name anymore. In discussions, people aren't even talking about him.
Further in the point, then in the East, you got the Braves, right? You got the Phillies now getting hot. You got the Mets. And then the AL East, you got Boston, New York, Tampa. Central, I think the White Sox may look to add. I don't think the Indians are going to do anything. And then the West, you got the A's in Houston and possibly the Mariners. So you got 12 teams that are going to be potentially active. I think it's going to be pretty fun.
My point being is that, you know, if the Mariners are in it at 6 games out, why aren't the Yankees in it at 7 games out? You know, that's relatively close.
Because those
the Nationals in it.
You could throw the Cubs in there. I think the Mariners are seemingly on the uptrend.
Hell, the Padres are 5 games out.
And I think the Indians and the Cubs pretty much announced before the year that they're not even going to really try and compete. I mean, they just happen to stumble into competing a little bit. But I don't think those teams are thinking we're going to win it this year. And I think the Mariners might try and – I don't think they're going to give away any big talent, but I think they might be adders. You know, they might add.
Well, as much talk as there was about the Cubs moving Bryant, they've been talking in Seattle about moving Haniger all year long.
Definitely, yes. But will they move them if they think they can make the playoffs? I mean, the Cardinals and the Cubbies are both 8 games behind. I think they're 8 games. It changes every day, but
it's 9 now. It looks like.
Yeah, they're a lot.
The problem with the Mariners trading Haniger right now is they are void of outfielders.
Yeah, they sort of need him right now.
I wouldn't.
If they weren't competing, they would trade the crap out of him. But they are competing.
I would not.
They put Jake Fraley on the IL yesterday with the flu, not COVID, with a flu. He's so sick, he's on the IL.
There's a lot of COVID going on right now.
No, it's a non-COVID flu. If they put him on the COVID thing, they could bring him back anytime they want. Because they put him on with the flu, they have to let him sit for 10 days.
Yeah.
And so if it would behoove them to lie and say he had COVID if that was what his illness was.
That's crazy talk, because it's basically, I mean, even the CDC clumps the flu with COVID. So why don't they just lump the flu with COVID and let him?
That once you admit you have a COVID problem like the Yankees did this week, then you have to deal with all that scrutiny.
Yeah. So you think they lied about it? What do you think? Do you think he really does have COVID and not the flu? Or do you think they even know the difference between the flu and COVID?
I couldn't tell the difference. I was meeting a friend on Tuesday, and he said he wasn't feeling really good. Nowadays, you say, is it the big one or is it just the flu? And he goes, yeah, it's just the flu. And now he's a nurse, so I believe that he has an idea what he's talking about. Like, you know, well, if you cough up phlegm, right, if it's this color, that means it shouldn't be COVID.
There's too much information.
What the hell?
I'm just giving you the quick thing that he said. He goes,
I know.
That's good. I like the information. I like.
It was clear that it might be COVID because of the nature.
But I don't understand all these problems with COVID in baseball because supposedly the players are vaccinated. I don't get it.
I mean, it is a weird situation. That idea.
I'm just dumb. I'm so tired of hearing the word I can't see straight.
I know, right? I hear you, dude. But it doesn't stop you from getting COVID. It stops you from supposedly getting very sick with COVID. That's the
That's true. That's true, and that's a big advantage. That's a big reason to get it.
It is.
But how do they even know if you would get sicker without the vaccine?
The thing is, like, I have the vaccine, right? And let's say I have the same J&J vaccine the Yankees have. And unless I'm showing some real symptoms, you know, and I have a smoker's cough, so I don't really worry about my cough. If I show some real symptoms, like you know, whatever, brown sweats or fever, I'm not going to get tested. Who knows? I might have actually contracted this other one and been asymptomatic and beaten it back because of the antibodies in my system. I don't know.
You already had antibodies before you took the jab.
But the difference is those guys in the Yankees, because of the nature of their job, they're required to take these COVID tests on a regular basis. Somebody who had the same symptoms as their judge in the real world wouldn't have taken it.
No, somebody actually got sick, and it was Ursula, I think, was out first, but Then
Well,
because of that, they tested them. But if you're vaccinated in MLB, you don't have to get tested anymore, unless somebody has a breakout or whatever.
I'll tell you what was cool. It was cool to see the Yankees start the whole Scranton outfield and win.
Are you kidding me? They have. I mean,
They
the Yankees.
started 3 outfielders.
I love that guy.
in Scranton.
Hamburger is how my nephew used to say hamburger.
Oh, that's too cute.
So I
Hamburger.
was like, I almost want to get an hamburger, uniform.
They started the entire Scranton outfield yet last night against Boston and won. What am I hearing? What am I hearing here?
I think it's Malpau's. Maybe it's. I think is Malpau dudes.
My dog's chasing a squirrel or something.
You got your dog.
Really?
You have it's like Mitch didn't
The dog
they
eating
mic'd up the batters.
what?
You
Is the
probably
dog on the
shouldn't mic up
phone?
your dog.
What's he doing? Hey, buddy. Oh, how cute is that? Maybe it's not hit your phone. Maybe it is. I don't know.
Patrol in the backyard.
I'm gonna mute him for a second to see if it's still
What
there.
is that above you? Is that a skylight you have? Is that a skylight?
Sorry, I muted you. I'm gonna unmute you now.
There's nice looking digs, Malpo.
Yeah, it's something to do with him.
I want to know if he has a skylight or not. Where did
Yeah,
he go?
I'm back on my earbuds.
It looked like you have a
And you're
skylight.
invisible.
I have a skylight.
That's pretty
I'm
nice.
muted.
That's nice looking digs.
We heard you.
Malpo.
It's all daylight there,
skylight.
dude. Here's dark. It's pitch black outside
Where are you at? It's still daylight.
in
it's
San
only night.
Diego.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Okay, guys, I'm done. Are you guys done?
I'm done. It's been
I was
fun.
just about to-
It's been fun.
Mitch, you got to get out of last place, buddy. You're in last
Hey.
place. So next time I see
I'm
you,
not. I'm not
Go
worried.
get him,
You know,
Mitch.
Andy, I put about 4 IL players on there last night because if my pitching was so bad. I got Gomber on the IL. I got Savali on the IL.
hey, we're
I
going to
got-
be coming by you
I
down
got
there.
Ian Anderson on the IL. It's my fault.
I think we're coming your way on the 6th. Well, on the 7th, we're going to be in near DC at a party, but we're going to go to a Baltimore game on the 6th.
Right.
Are you close to there? You're not that
So
far.
I'm in the Richmond area, so you can hit me on your way back up from Florida.
We'll have bagels and coffee and beer.
We'll do that.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.